11 o'clock, welcome in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyrad, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you here on the game. Quick programming note, we are going to be joined by Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter coming up at 11:15. He is a very busy man getting pulled in a lot of different directions for his knowledge of the upcoming EA Sports College Football 25 video game. So we'll get him at 11:15, and he hopefully will give us a lot of insight into what we can expect here in a couple of months.
We just did that to make them tune in for this segment.
You know, nothing wrong with a little bit of a tease.
But, yeah, it'd be fun to hear from Matt. EA apparently takes their embargoes very seriously. And so possibly, maybe, today is the day that you're going to start to see some more information come out about the game. That's the word on the street. And hopefully Matt, who has played the game, I believe, will be able to tell us a little bit more. Don't know if he's used South Carolina or not. That would be fantastic if he says, oh, yeah, I happened to play with South Carolina.
Sure.
But, yeah, excited to hear what he has to say about this thing. And I know a lot of people out there who are in me and Chris's age bracket are looking forward to maybe going back in time a little bit and reliving some of our youth.
So I saw something funny the other day. It was somebody that said, I think they said, I'm about 30 years of age, and I can't wait to, beat up on all these young kids in the new EA Sports College Football video game. And they were met with, do you know how seriously kids take video games now? You might be in for a bit of a rude awakening. Do you think you guys are going to be able to hold your own against today's youth in this new game?
I don't know. I think, the kids and Fortnite and just, Call of Duty. Here's the thing, though. Do those 12-year-olds understand football strategy will be the question.
Here's the thing, and I don't know if you've ever watched like the professional Madden players or anything like that. You don't really have to know football strategy if you know how the game works necessarily, because a lot of the plays in the game aren't actual legitimate football plays. You just got to understand the inner workings of the game to know what works in certain situations. So as long as you kind of
that's called cheese, though.
Well, that's true.
I don't like that. I like if you're playing, if you're going up against a cover 3 scheme, that you attack a cover 3 scheme the way you would in real life. So
Wes is going to be on the headphones on the online with some 8-year-old. And the 8-year-old's going to score a touchdown, and Wes is going to be like, "You don't even know ball. You don't know ball."
And that 8-year-old's going to call you everything but a child of God.
Yes,
yes,
that's what 8-year-olds do.
I do hope we can have. I've got some ideas for some tournaments we could have here locally.
I mean, we're going to do this thing, right?
Possibly
we've been teasing it.
Possibly a Garnet Trust involvement. I feel like as well would be pretty cool.
See, I feel like we could have a pros versus Joes thing where we have one side of the bracket that's us, the other side of the bracket athletes, and then we take the best athlete versus the best of us media people, and they go head-to-head for a championship.
We're not going to let the people out there be involved in this?
Well, they can be involved in this, too. They can be part of the Joes.
I'm thinking a massive tournament with a buy-in.
Okay.
Winner. I don't want to give away all my ideas. But
somebody will take them.
Now, have you purchased your PlayStation 5 or Xbox yet?
No, I've not.
No.
How many guys out there are excited about the game, but also dreading, the moment where you either got to go to the wifey and be like, all right, we're carving out about $600 here for the system and the game, or is it $700? Or you just gonna? I would like to know the people's strategy. Firehouse Subs text line.
Yes.
You just.
Or is it I bought
this? Or wifey looks at the credit card statement and says, what is this $700 from, I don't know if Integrated Media do they stock PS5s? If so, it's a great
they could certainly give you they could certainly give you good gaming setup when you inevitably buy it.
Yes, I'll text Michael and we will find out what he can do for that.
Fortunately, I think the prices are down to about $450 to $500. Okay,
so you need about $600. You got to get the deluxe version of the game.
But then it becomes Integrated's out here. I've got a new video game room.
Probably need a new TV.
New TV,
of course,
hung on the wall.
Surround
sound. Gaming chair,
internet upgrade.
Get one of those gaming chairs that you can feel the vibrations of the stadium that you're playing in.
The gaming
as
chair.
I'm beating Tyler by 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
Whoa.
Tyler has a
Whoa.
built-in advantage, though, because he's
Now-
playing with Georgia.
How many national championships have you won in prior NCAA
I have no
video
idea.
games?
It's been so long.
I've won quite a bit, thank you.
It's been so long.
So
I prefer to play real people as opposed to the computer. Tyler.
you know, in fact, I don't know. I think I told Terry about this. I already have my strategy for my final game of NCAA 14 because I have a national championship that I've yet to play that I'm saving for the night before I go out and purchase College Football 25 as my farewell to that game before buying the new
Oh
one.
no, Tyler's still been playing for a decade.
Got a time capsule.
We've been retired.
Guys,
Gonna
not
beat
ready
up
for
on
this.
us.
That tournament is mine.
We'll see. We'll see.
I would like a college baseball game as well.
Did you guys ever play the MVP games back in the day?
Mhm.
Those were fun.
Those are good.
Yeah, those were some of the best games. The MVP MLB ones were some of the best games ever too.
I feel like, personally, I don't know if we're ever going to get a true standalone college baseball game, but I think there's a possibility for MLB The Show to implement college baseball into it. And maybe not all 300 some odd teams, but maybe power conferences. Take all the Power 4 conference teams, so roughly 70 teams, put them in the game where you can, instead of going through the minors, you can go through college baseball or play college baseball franchise type season mode or something along those lines. I think that'd be cool. And I think that is realistic as opposed to maybe just getting a complete standalone game.
Yeah, or maybe, man, it'd be awesome if there was just an add-on. EA and all these different brands like to have all these microtransactions anyway. If you had a $30 add-on where it was the same system, but you added all the college teams and some stadiums, I think people would go for that. From what Matt Brown, who hopefully we're going to be able to talk to here in a second, for what he has said, it's going to be tough for us to get because they had the old March Madness games that were college basketball. College baseball was only around for 1 or 2 games, I feel like.
I think they had 2 games.
It's going to be tough because of how much actual just financial backing is put into making a video game these days, that it almost has to be like an A-list title. It has to be something that's going to be a wide market, and college football is a big enough market, not quite the NFL market, but especially you have all this pent-up demand for it, that there's enough for them to put all this into it.
Sure.
Whereas for college baseball, you're just talking about a very select group
Very
of
niche.
highly passionate,
Sure.
but it's just not a big enough group of people. So I think, could you go the route for college basketball or college baseball? Could you do an add-on to 2K?
Yeah.
To NBA 2K? Maybe that, especially if this ends up working out for you, which,
Sure.
Y'all remember when there was questions about how many guys were going to opt in?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like almost, not all, but almost all the big names have opted in.
I believe I saw only 38 players opted out of this game across the entire country. Now, some of them were transfers and stuff
38.
like that. It was a very low number considering the, thousands of players across 130 some odd teams across college football. So and pretty much everybody's going to be in the game. I think the only notable name is Arch Manning, which, he's a backup for Texas this year anyway. So
He's focused on football.
he's focused on football. You don't have to actually play the game, right? You just got to put your name into it.
When Wes plays with Arch Manning on a football game, that distracts Arch from football.
I guess so.
Apparently. But I did see, it was kind of funny. There were apparently a few of those 38 players were on Twitter. Is there anybody I can get in touch with, to get in the game? I don't know if they forgot.
They put one of the LSU guys in.
Who asked late?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little late edition.
Well, and again, you have the spring transfer portal window, so that maybe that caused some issues there. But for the most part, and again, for every South Carolina player that we've had in here, we've asked about them. They've all opted in, and it's all kind of been why not? They're going to give you $500, get a free copy of the game. I don't know anybody that would say no to that necessarily.
Especially most of these guys, are still at an age where they do remember the game when they were obviously far younger.
Some of them were 7, but
yeah, so they remember, and most of them. How many guys when we ask them, "What do you do in your free time?" Oh, I get on the game, and they're always talking about, almost all of them. It's Madden, Call of Duty, 2K.
Yep.
So to have a chance to be in a video game, and even I feel like Madden has done such a good job over the years. the Madden team of like incorporating themselves into the whole NFL conversation and getting the players involved and like revealing their ratings to them. Like the players pay attention to this stuff and they get, frankly, sometimes insulted about their rating and stuff like that. So but that means it matters to them. That means they pay attention. So I think if I'm a college football player, I mean, the Mannings have always been a little bit different about stuff like this.
Well, and he's not hurting for cash, to say the least.
Nope, he hadn't taken any NIL deals, Tyler.
This is,
of course not.
This is par for the course, I feel like. But for most of the guys, it's like an absolute no-brainer.
Why not? Absolutely. We'll talk to Matt Brown coming up next from the Extra Points newsletter, get his insight on what he knows, what he can tell us about the upcoming EA Sports College Football 25 video game. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on your Wednesday here on the game.
We've spent a lot of time today on the game talking about the game that's going to be coming out this summer. We're all really excited about the new college football game. And, you know, I'm trying to find out. I just sent my guy Michael from Integrated Media a text, and I don't know if they're going to actually stock the game. I don't know if they're going to be stocking PS5s or whatever your console of choice is going to be to play this thing. But I do know you need a great audiovisual setup at your home to be able to enjoy it. New TV, man cave, Sonos wireless speakers, of course, a great internet signal. They can take care of all of those things for you. Go check out integratedmediainc.com or give Michael and Nathan and their team a call, 803-948-8327. If you want some examples of some of the past work that they've done at homes and at businesses to take homes and businesses to the next level, Integrated Media Columbia on Instagram and Facebook. Again, that's integratedmediainc.com. Or give them a call, 803-948-8327.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark excited now to be joined by Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter to give us all the insight into what's going on with EA College Football 25. Matt, I feel like we should just shut off our microphones and let you talk for the next 15 minutes and fill us in on all the details because you've kind of been at the forefront of this entire thing through the process of this game coming to fruition. For one, how did you kind of position yourself to be the guy when it comes to the latest on this game?
Yeah, to be honest, friends, it happened by accident. I run a newsletter that mostly covers business and policy issues in college sports. And I think 2.5 years ago, I was filing a bunch of open records requests to learn about how a couple of universities were about to launch licensed beers. And I thought that was going to be like a revenue story. And through that search, I got a copy of the initial project proposal for EA Sports College Football and realized, like, this is more interesting than beer. Kind of pulled on that thread for open records requests for about a year until at that point, more people at EA and within the licensing industry and within the video game industry were more willing to talk with me. So it's been really rewarding and interesting. I'm a fan of the series just like everybody else, but certainly didn't expect to get into this being a video game reporter. But glad to have added that to the portfolio of things we write about.
Yeah, and here we are, Matt. I actually just saw, I think, an email of yours just went out talking about the game. So while we have you, I'm sure you'll have a lot of information coming out today in the next couple of days. You want to tell our listeners exactly how they can read up on what you're sending out?
So you can find the newsletter at extrapointsmb.com. I send this out 4 days a week. The embargo just lifted like 3 minutes ago. So I sent out an email with my first impressions. There's free emails, and there's others that are behind a subscription paywall. So if you want to read the stuff that your athletic director is reading and understand how this industry works, you can enjoy it at extrapointsmb.com.
Yeah, so if you are listening, you want to get the full scoop, go check that out. But, Matt, we got you at a perfect time here, man. So you've played the game. I know you were down there. What was your first impression just of the gameplay in general, maybe compared to Madden and maybe compared to the game from a decade ago?
I would definitely say it's fundamentally different from Madden. Which I know has been a major I got to play the new Madden game there, too. It's been a major concern, I think, from a lot of consumers. Part of they are built with the same engine, but the animations are different, the physics are different, some of the features are different, and the gameplay itself is different. And it's also, I would say, fundamentally different from NCAA 14. My very early impression was I'm going to have to relearn how to play this game a little bit, right? Because some of the kind of more cheesy ways to exploit NCAA 14 or the ways that I think we would typically play college football video games are not going to be as effective in this game. There's a really, I think, very different passing system where passing angle and pass velocity and being able to kind of layer the ball through coverage is going to be much more important than just like scrambling out of the pocket and rifling something across the field or down the field. And there's how you play is going to be different. Like I think a lot of people last time would say, okay, like the way to play is to run an option offense. Or to do 4 verts every time here, and your personnel and your playbook and your play style and what your opponent's doing, that's going to matter a lot more. There's going to be a lot more flexibility, I think, in this edition.
Yeah, Matt, Chris here. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully on defense, there's still the free fire blitz. Y'all remember that one? That was a staple of my strategy, certainly on NCAA 14. But Matt, you noted that obviously several game modes in this game. Tell us about the game mode that you were able to play and maybe, anything else that you can share that you've learned about any of the modes that you did not get to play when you went over to the EA headquarters.
I can talk a little bit about Dynasty mode, which is, I'm sure, a thing that a lot of people are going to be asking about. That's fundamentally the core mode for this game, right? One of the, I think, pretty exciting things is they completely changed the coaching skill tree system. Do you guys remember from the last game a decade ago?
Yep.
You start out as like a level 0 coach, and as you progress through the game, you almost everybody would put all their points into recruiting, right? Level that up all the way, and then maybe go into the gameplay mode. Now, when you start a coach, start a dynasty, and you can also start your career as a coordinator. There's 11, I think, different skill trees, and it's impossible to max all of them out. Just like in real life, coaches aren't good at everything. And so one of the strategic decisions everyone's going to have to decide here is, do I want to hire coordinators and staffers that are good at some of the things that I'm not? Do I want to be a recruiting-oriented coach? I've been hire guys that are more development-oriented or more schematic-oriented? Or do I want to double down on what I'm good at and maybe stack some of those multipliers, stack some of those benefits, and try to build out my trajectory that way? And the game will let you know, hey, these are the things you need to do to level up in scouting. These are things you need to level up in motivation. The transfer portal is definitely going to be a big part of how you build rosters. I think one of the kind of fun little wrinkles we saw was that if you're recruiting a high schooler and you're like number 2 in his recruitment and you lose him, and that guy hits the portal the next year, you're going to have a leg up in recruiting him out of the portal. And so if you're taking over a G5 team, that's going to be one of the, I think, better ways to maybe stack talent. The game is definitely set up where you can't win the Sun Belt in year 1 and then sign 7 5-star kids out of high school. You can eventually do that as your program changes, but you're always going to cheese the AI a little bit in the last game, and that's not going to be the case here. But you might be able to get some of those 3- and 4-star guys out of the transfer portal. There'll be lots of different, I think, roster management pathways as you build your team.
Again, talking to Matt Browns from the Extra Points newsletter on the latest on the EA Sports College Football 25 video game. So you're telling me I can't turn Kennesaw State into a national power overnight in Dynasty mode?
Yes. You can definitely turn Kennesaw State into a superpower in like 7 years, and you can win all your games in the first year, but you're not going to be able to build Alabama's roster in year 1.
That seems reasonable. One thing that always set college football video games apart from Madden was the customization. You could go into Dynasty mode, you could change your conferences around, you could change the BCS bowl tie-ins, you could do team builder or rosters, change all that kind of stuff. What can you tell us about customization in this new game?
Well, I think customization is going to be some pluses and minuses. On the plus side, their team builder is back. That's going to be done on the PC. We didn't get a ton of details on that, but the early word is that it's going to be a little bit more robust than it was last year. So you can import custom created teams and download other people's teams, put them into your dynasty. You can do custom conferences. You can add teams. You can subtract teams. One of the things that I kind of liked that I don't think you could do before is you can also change conference rules. So if you're playing a dynasty in the SEC and you decide, okay, I want there to be 9 conference games. Now you can. If you want to say, we want to have 8 conference games, but I want my new protected rival to be Vanderbilt, you can do that, which is going to change schedules moving forward. The one place for customization I think is going to take a little bit of a step back is with the custom creating recruits and altering the existing rosters. Now that these rosters are full of real people who have signed real licensing agreements that need to be honored, you're not going to be able to hop into the game and make like a March Manning who just happens to look like Arch Manning. There's going to be some player customization in 2014 that you're not going to have this year as EA works to try to build systems that are legally compliant. I think given the history of this game, that's understandable.
For sure. Matt, I imagine getting in there and playing with South Carolina was not your first order of duty when you got down there, but since we are a South Carolina show, is there anything you can tell us or anything that you remember specifically about the Gamecocks that either you saw with your own eyes or just you've picked up along the way that maybe our listeners would enjoy hearing?
No, I know it's a good question, and it's true. I played with I think at 9 different teams when I was there because I was stopping the game at halftime so I go fire something else up, and South Carolina was not one of them. And I was not able to file open records requests to get their submitted audio assets because I do not live in South Carolina, and I believe the school's multimedia rights partner handled a lot of that for them. I believe Cocky, the mascot's in the game, but for other more specific things, I didn't see it. I will say, though, from all the other schools that I saw, which included big schools and small schools, the attention to detail for stadiums and in-game presentation is insane. You will be able to see not just, okay, this is the music we play coming into the game, and this is the inside of our locker room, and here's the sound effects we play on penalties and on third downs. You'll be able to see like where in the stadium they put the opposing team's band, where on the sidelines each cheerleading squad is. Like they mapped out every seat in the stadium. Like that level of granular detail really pops.
Matt, I know you got another interview here shortly, but real quick, how much do you think that just having not just a year, because you're generally a football game, you're talking about a year-to-year thing, you have time crunches, but actually having a few years to just kind of build this game from scratch in a lot of ways, it sounds like the fact they were able to do that was kind of apparent in the level of attention to detail that you were able to see.
I don't think there was a way that they would have been able to release anything like what you're going to see this July without waiting an extra year. And that's, that's something that's going to be apparent in the story that came out today. It's going to be apparent in the story tomorrow and much of my other coverage here from this event. I think it's fair to look at this game as a foundational piece in the development. Not every single thing that EA Sports wanted to put in the game is going to be in this game. Probably not every single little thing that fans want. A lot of them are. But a major part of the last 2 years was building the infrastructure, modernizing this game, and building a solid base. So then there are things that you can add on to it in subsequent releases that don't break the fundamental structure of the game. For football games year to year, that's a real short development window, and you really only get one shot at a first impression and one shot to make sure the foundation of the game is working. And that's what they meant to do here.
Well, I can tell you we're all very excited for this game to finally come out, already setting aside the money to buy a new PS5 and the game as well. We appreciate your time, Matt. Know you got to run, and we might be checking in with you again later down the line as we get closer and closer to that release date.
No, you bet. All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Again, Matt Brown from the Extra Points newsletter, staying on top of all things with the EA Sports College Football 25. Did you have something to add, Wes? No? Got all the information you needed?
Yeah, I think we packed a lot of info there in 15 minutes. Yep. And I figured he wasn't playing with South Carolina, but I had to ask.
Probably not. But in South Carolina, only briefly got featured in the trailer. I believe it was Oscar Delp putting somebody on skates, and that was the extent of Gamecocks in that trailer.
Yeah, of course a Georgia fan would bring that up.
Well, sometimes I got to get my leverage. So
Wes will get revenge on behalf of the Gamecocks when he beats Tyler.
I'm sure he will.
Can we get a sound effect for my one Tyler's a Georgia fan mentioned each week?
Maybe we can get that segment sponsored. How about that?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
We can do that. All right, we'll shift gears, go on to baseball. Coach Kingston talking on the cocktail hour with Jay and Bill a little bit yesterday on the upcoming regional this weekend with Raleigh. We'll hit that. Coming up next, it's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
That daughter just committed, so I'm going to pop Wellbaum's story. Make sure you check the breaking news. I have done that, sir. Women's Miriam. How do you spell this girl's name?
All right, everybody, you've heard me tell you about them for a couple of months now. It's our friends over at Classic Roofing. They are offering residential and commercial roofing services throughout Columbia, South Carolina, and the surrounding areas. My friends Joe Reeder, Max Sawyer, they're going to take outstanding care of you and your roof. Call them today, 803-590-7870, or head online to classicroofingsc.com. There you can get more information on their services, and you can also set up a free estimate. With their wealth of experience spanning more than 20 years, their team of experts is well equipped to handle all of your roofing requirements. That could be a residential project, a commercial undertaking, or really anything in between. They've got you covered. It's going to be outstanding, top-notch roofing solutions from our friends over at Classic Roofing. Again, that phone number, 803-590-7870, 803-590-7870, or head on over to classicroofingsc.com.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell, and Chris Clark along with you on this Wednesday. We are halfway through the week, short week because of the Monday Memorial holiday, which means we are that much closer to baseball regional action as the Gamecocks head up the road to Raleigh for the regional hosted by NC State. They'll take on James Madison on Friday, 2 o'clock first pitch. Pregame coverage starting at 1:45 here on the game, and depending on if they win or lose on Friday, will determine what time they play on Saturday in game number 2. But much like the SEC tournament, you lose twice, you're out. You win 3 games, you advance on into the Super Regionals. Not going to be easy by any means, coming in as the number 2 seed in that regional, but we'll see what South Carolina can do. Coach Kingston was on the cocktail hour with Jay and Bill yesterday on Gamecocks Plus. We got a little bit of that audio from him yesterday. I want to start off with this. Get cut number 11 here, Ed, if we can. Just kind of talking about the season and the marathon that it's been as they now prepare for the postseason in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, look, a baseball season has ups and downs. It's a marathon. You're going to have some miles that feel very easy, and you're going to have some miles where, like, man, how are we going to finish this thing? And an SEC baseball season is very similar to that. We finished at home against Georgia and on the road against Tennessee, the national number 1 seed. These games didn't go our way, but over the course of the season, we knew we were a good team. We knew we had a good ball club, and I think that really showed in Hoover. It showed the resolve of this team that you might knock us out, but we're going to get right back up and keep fighting. I think that's what was shown in Hoover, but it also we showed they were a pretty darn good team. We scored a lot of runs. Our pitchers responded very well after having to be at Tennessee for that last weekend, and obviously defensively we need to shore some things up, but I think we showed we can beat anybody in the country on any given day.
And there's certainly been a lot of ups and downs this season. We've seen struggles with pitching. We've seen times where the bats weren't where they needed to be, and obviously defense was the big concern over this past weekend. So I don't think anybody's looking at this team and saying they're perfect by any means, but at the same time, there is still plenty of potential for them to get through this regional and advance on to a super for the second year in a row. Just got to clean up some of those mistakes, but the talent is certainly there. The skill is certainly there. We'll just see how they handle things when they go to Raleigh this weekend.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. That's the beauty of baseball. It will humble you at times, and you play with some confidence, have a couple good things happen, and you can look like world beaters. And I think this is certainly a team that it's very hard to predict. Like, would it surprise anybody, if South Carolina went home this weekend? I would say probably not. Would it surprise anybody if South Carolina went to Raleigh and won 3 games, got hot offensively, kind of cleaned up the defense just a little bit, and then just went 3-0 and ran right through this thing? I don't think that would be surprising either. Like, I think some teams kind of, like a Tennessee, for example, right now, if they get sent home in week 1, that would be a shocker. That would be a surprise. I think South Carolina is right on that line where, regardless of the outcome, you wouldn't be shocked. And I do think they enter a regional that is highly winnable. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean that you can go play poorly and play poorly and win, I should say. But if NC State plays their best game and South Carolina plays their best game, and that's assuming you get past the first one, obviously.
Yes.
Who's truly the better team? Like, who has the highest upside? Like, I don't think, some situations, especially obviously we cover a ton of football here. You're going into a game, you're saying, we need them to not play well, and Carolina needs to play very well.
Yep.
I think this is a coin flip between NC State and South Carolina as far as who you would even say is the favorite in this regional. Granted, you do give them that little bit of home field advantage, but man, did y'all see the photo or the video floating around about this park?
I don't know how much of a home field advantage that was. Somebody was like, what's that seat, 20 people?
They were hammering NC State's park.
I'm assuming that's why there's not a whole lot of secondary tickets available. I know I heard somebody said that, they went to see if they could get some tickets from the South Carolina perspective, and they were all gone pretty quickly, so maybe that's why.
There's literally no room. Like, where are you going to put them? I remember back in the day, Sarge Fry Field, which, man, low-key was an awesome venue. Obviously, you had to upgrade for South Carolina, but it was such a good venue for college baseball. But I remember in the regionals, they'd bring in external seating to just add for regional settings. And I don't know if NC State maybe needs to look into that, but that's a good point. How much of a home field? Obviously, it's a home field advantage because you're more comfortable with that place and you're used to being there. You're in your locker room. But, South Carolina surely has played in some outstanding atmospheres this year.
Yeah, and to your point about these teams being fairly close, I mean, if you want to use the RPI as some sort of metric, I mean, NC State right now is 15th and South Carolina is 21st. So it's not like you're going, hey, here's a team that just squeaked into the tournament and they're in the 40s, and then you're going and playing the number one overall seed on the road, like Tennessee. It's different than that, right? That doesn't mean it's without its challenges. It certainly is. You'd rather be playing at Founders. You'd rather, be the number one overall seed playing at home, but that's not where you are. And so I think this is where you go back to the SEC tournament, and why it was important. South Carolina has helped their cause, and they were able to get into not a regional that you go, South Carolina's the favorite, because, realistically, they might not be the favorite.
Sure.
But you did help yourself by going on the road and or going to the tournament and doing what you did. Wes, how mad are you going to be if I take some stuff from Stats of War?
I was just about to bring that up, actually.
Well, Tyler was going to do it anyway.
That's fine.
Okay. I got two things from Stats of War. Credit to Wes Mitchell for finding Parker Fleming, and then credit to Stats of War on X.
He's kind of going national these days. I feel like I thought I was ahead of the curve in finding that.
Well, you turned everybody else on
that
too.
Twitter, but now he's
Wes is like when you find that like indie band before they blow up, and you tell everybody like, "Well, I knew about them before they became popular."
He helped make them, no doubt. But he is actually ranked the toughest regionals by the average power rating of the non-host, right? So the teams that are included in the regional, and he has the Raleigh regional at number 10 out of 16. So that's one of the metrics that he's used. He also, let me pull up this other, he ran 10,000 simulations on a first run, and the probability to advance to the super regional. Now, you probably would not be surprised that Tennessee, as a number one overall seed, they have the highest probability out of any of the teams that are in the tournament to advance to a super. 56.1% though. So it's not like, they're 80%, right? Almost a coin flip, really, that they advance, but Tennessee's number one. South Carolina is at 33.5%, and that is a little bit above kind of the middle level of all the teams, that are in the regional. So,
and that's as a 2, which is significant. And they have some of the best odds, or I believe the second best odds of a 2 seed, only behind Wake Forest, who's having to go up to East Carolina in Greenville to advance out of their respective regionals. So, again, when you kind of talk about what South Carolina did for themselves last week in the SEC tournament, potentially putting themselves in a better situation of a regional that they maybe have a better chance to advance out of, as opposed to where they were projected, say, a week ago.
Well, and I think, really, to me, again, line them up. They're very equal teams. Your real advantages they have, and give them credit, NC State earned these advantages. Like, if these two teams were going to play at a neutral site, and you put all the metrics together, and it was just a 3-game series or just a 1-game situation, who would even be favored? I think that'd be very close to a coin flip. There is a little built-in advantage in that, again, you're the home team, and not that you can go into a 1 versus 4. Like, we do sometimes see the 4 upset the 1, but you can be maybe, and every coach has their own approach to this, right? Like, some coaches say, no, we're throwing our 1 because we ain't messing around with losing to a 4. Other teams you see take a more sort of entire tournament, entire regional approach, and they kind of save that number 1 guy for game 2, because of that, it's going to be a better matchup, you think. So if you're NC State, you have a little bit of a built-in advantage just in terms of your play in a 4, whereas South Carolina, they know they're going to get a good shot from their 3 seed. Now, granted, South Carolina doesn't have a true ace anyway.
Right.
So I think for them, who you pitch as you sort of try to map this thing out is really more based on matchups, in my opinion, which guy matches up best with the roster you're going against.
Plenty more to break down to preview the regional coming up. And then again, they'll play James Madison, the 3 seed, on Friday, 2 o'clock first pitch, 1:45 pregame, all right here on the game. But to wrap up today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, some new news for women's basketball. A significant transfer coming in for Dawn Staley's crew. We'll hit that coming up next. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on the game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head, Wes Mitchell. Chris Clark along with you for a few more minutes. Had some news break within the past hour in regards to women's basketball. Of course, Gamecock women coming off of an undefeated national championship season, only losing Camila Cardoso to the WNBA draft. So didn't necessarily need to go out there and pull talent from the portal, but Dawn Staley nonetheless has done that, bringing in a pretty notable name in the SEC in Miriam Dowda from Arkansas, 6'4", somebody that suffered an injury, didn't get to play her first year, redshirt freshman season this past year. Very solid, scored 19 points against the Gamecocks in their matchup just a couple of months ago, and maybe kind of fills that bit of a void you were feeling with losing Camila Cardoso. But again, another highly, highly talented player coming into the fold for Dawn Staley.
Well, if you're going to be on this roster, you have to be, right? Another former McDonald's All-American, and we wondered how active South Carolina would be in the transfer portal, and you got to think, and you just pretty much know at this point that Dawn Staley and this staff are not going to add somebody unless, A, they truly believe they can make an impact or provide something specific like depth, and B, they've got to be a fit for this locker room because they've done such a good job, and the girls themselves have done such a good job of buying into the team element. Did you look at this roster and say, if there was one thing you could maybe add to it, would be another post presence? I would say yes. Now, you could have also argued, hey, let's just run it back. You're going to miss Cardoso, obviously, but with the jump you expect from all the returning players, you're still going to be the national champion favorite, regardless of what one On3 writer maybe has in her top 25 rankings. But I think this probably just made sense. You get somebody who obviously is at a position, I wouldn't even say of need, maybe a position of want, and you also bring in somebody with SEC experience.
Yeah, you remember, to back up a little bit, South Carolina looked poised to bring in Kiki Arifin. Did I pronounce the name incorrectly? Probably. From Stanford,
yep.
Right? Tara Vanderveer.
On an official visit. She goes to Southern Cal. She's from California. That was always kind of couched as the favorite, right? And she looked like she was going to go to Southern Cal for an official visit. Looked like she was then going to go to South Carolina right after that. Unfortunately, she goes out to Southern Cal, goes ahead and shuts it down, right? But that was kind of viewed as a bonus, right? And really, I mean, guys, at this point, like you said, Wes, when you recruit players when you're South Carolina now, you're almost, they need great players to sustain, but they're in like drafting territory almost, right? When they're just so good at recruiting, they're recruiting at such a high level. You got to be a McDonald's All-American, former McDonald's All-American. And so that was the one thing you could say, well, they could have used her because she's that good. I think Dowda falls in a similar category, right? You're not going to go out and, hey, we've got to get a post player from the portal. You're not in that territory because you're South Carolina, but you are in, hey, this young lady is good enough to come in and help us, and that's exactly what she is.
And Chris Wellbaum's got a full write-up on GamecockCentral.com. He pulled a quote from after the South Carolina-Arkansas game a couple months back from Coach Staley saying, she's good, a big that has great footwork, a big that can shoot the three, a big that keeps you off balance. She can put the ball on the floor. She's really, really good. I was very, very impressed. I found myself complimenting her with what she was able to do out there on the floor. So already those seeds kind of being planted of somebody that you were looking at if she became available in the portal. Obviously, she has, and now joining an already very talented roster for the 2024-2025 season.
Welcome to the world of the transfer portal that you can get a instantaneous quote on a new commitment from Dawn Staley from back in February because she was so impressive against South Carolina. And she apparently, I think, made a big jump in her play this past season. She scored what was then a career high, 19 points against South Carolina at the time. She later topped that with a 22-point outing against Tulsa. Again, we're leaning completely on Chris Wellbaum here, who does a fantastic job of covering everything with South Carolina women's basketball and has for a long time over on Gamecock Central. But appears to be a great pickup. And obviously, I mean, that's the game now, right? Like you're playing against teams and you're probably consistently looking around like, hey, if she enters the portal, that would be a phone call. If she enters the portal, that would be a phone call. We see that in football, too.
Yep.
Teams playing against a guy or, Brady Hunt. South Carolina was basically scouting Tennessee. They saw Brady Hunt playing for Ball State and was like, star that guy. He enters the portal, and then you already have an evaluation sort of in the bag almost. So very interesting. Also think she hit almost 32% from 3 for a post player.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive and maybe adds a little different. She's not 6'7" like Cardoso.
Right, but Cardoso, obviously, outside of the one shot against Tennessee, didn't really shoot from the outside, so that's a little bit of a different dynamic she could bring to the table.
Yeah, you don't really see. I mean, Asia Wilson even didn't start shooting threes until she got to the WNBA, and now she's become quite adept at it. So it does it's something that you at least have to respect with Dowda. And, if you go through and look at her box scores, a little bit up and down. She'd have a couple games where she shot it at 50% and was 3 of 6. You do that in a game, that makes it really difficult on the other team, especially with all the other talent South Carolina has.
For sure. A welcome addition to an already very talented roster for the upcoming season as South Carolina looks to defend its national championship title. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show myself, Terry Ford, coming up next here on the game.
Fire.